Warsaw is a good place to experience a city that has been reborn several times, rising from the ashes like the proverbial phoenix. Welcome to WatchZilla. Today we are going to explore the capital of Poland, Warsaw. Over the centuries, it has been plundered and invaded many times by forces from Sweden and France to Russia. It was the last residence of the Polish royalty and the place where the 1944 uprising happened. It suffered heavy damage from German bombs in World War II. Yet, Warsaw today is a new, vibrant city that has been largely restored to its pre-World War II. Among the tourist attractions in Warsaw, Old Town, with its palace, churches and castles, is not to be missed. Whether you are into history, classical music, contemporary art, or a fitness fan, Warsaw is bound to offer something you will enjoy. Visitors also will want to take advantage of the city's impressive cultural activities. Number 10. Old Town Market Square. Old Town Market Square is a good example of reincarnation. Up to the creation of Stanislaw II Augustus's new town at the end of the 18th century, this square was the epicenter of commercial life in Warsaw. Located in the oldest part of Old Town, the square dates back to the late 13th century. It was totally destroyed by bombs in World War II. Following the war, it was restored to its pre-war condition. Most of the buildings were rebuilt beginning in 1948 and look much like the original 17th century structures. It is the most historic part of the Old Town and is enveloped by tall Renaissance and Baroque merchants' houses in a spectrum of colors. A drawing point of the square today is the many restaurants that surround this pretty square, which make it a good place to sample Polish specialties such as stuffed cabbage leaves and grilled mutton. The market square features a bronze sculpture of the Warsaw Mermaid, the symbol of Poland's capital. Number 9. NOWY SWIAT. Also, on the royal route, this 1-kilometer artery leads southwards from KRAKOWSKIE down to Three Crosses Square. NOWY SWIAT, which translates as New World Street, doesn't meet up to the standard of its name at first glance. In the 16th century, NOWY SWIAT served as the only route to the many castles, villages, and palaces in Warsaw. As development creeps in, the street has a facelift. The city's wealthier and aristocratic residents built homes along the street. And by Napoleonic times these were remodeled from half-timbered buildings into fine neoclassical mansions and villas. In the present day, NOWY SWIAT is now littered with neoclassical buildings. Luckily, the area escaped destruction during the Second World War. This is the place where old meets new. Here you'll find some of the best shops and eating establishments in Warsaw. The thoroughfare has cafes, upmarket shops and international retailers like Sephora by day, and lots of night spots with international clientele when the sun goes down. Treat yourself to a great cup of finely brewed coffee in one of the many cafes in Foxhall Street. Number 8. Palace of Culture and Science. Warsaw's iconic must-see building is the Palace of Culture and Science. Whatever your opinion on this enormous building, it is practically ever present in Warsaw. Love it or hate it, the building is pretty hard to miss. For over 60 years this socialist realist palace has dominated central Warsaw. A gift of friendship from the Soviet Union, it was completed in 1955 and is, at 237 meters high, the tallest building in Poland, a title it will keep until the nearby 53-story, 320 meters Warsaw Tower tops out in 2020. It was originally named for Joseph Stalin, but changed when the Soviet leader fell out of favor. The building is sometimes referred to as Beijing because its initials are PKIN, after the Chinese capital's old name, Peking. The Palace of Culture and Science is a multifunctional building that houses everything from companies to entertainment venues. The building itself has a theater and cinema inside it and hosts regular events. As a concert venue, it's hosted many international groups, including the Rolling Stones back in 1967. Among the many attractions in PKIN, the one not to be missed is the 30th floor observation terrace. For a sublime view of the city, buy a ticket and head to the viewing platform on the 30th floor via the lift. The Palace of Culture and Science is one of Warsaw's top landmarks. Number 7. KRAKOWSKIE. One of Warsaw's most popular thoroughfares is KRAKOWSKIE or Krakow Suburb Street. A walk down KRAKOWSKIE is a great way to experience Warsaw's history. This is your best chance to explore the majestic atmosphere of Royal Warsaw. This street was once the start of a route that connected Warsaw with Krakow. Now, the road connects Zamkowy Place in Old Town to NOWY SWIAT's shops and restaurants. Situated at the end of the royal route, strollers will find the Presidential Palace and Warsaw University, as well as Baroque churches. The 1-mile-long street, one of Warsaw's oldest, links the Old Town and the Royal Castle. Considered one of Warsaw's most elegant streets, KRAKOWSKIE PRZEDMIESCIE dates back to the 15th century when it was a trade route. Across from the entrance to Bednarska Street is Warsaw's second oldest standing monument, the Madonna of Passy. Travelers should be on the lookout for a 17th-century statue of a Madonna and Child that commemorates a Polish victory over Turkish forces in Vienna. Although one visitor described the street's restaurants as a bit expensive and not as good as other Warsaw eateries, many highly recommended taking a leisurely stroll here. But remember to wear comfortable shoes, since this road is more than a half-mile long. Number 6, LAZIENKI Park. LAZIENKI Park, also known as Royal Baths Park, is the largest park in Warsaw. Not only is this largest park in Warsaw, but also one with the most striking beauty. LAZIENKI competes favorably with other top parks in the world. Warsaw's largest park is an anchor on the Royal Route and is an excursion of choice for families and couples on the weekend. Pronounced LAZIENKI, this beautiful park includes manicures gardens, an ornamental lake, wooded glades and strutting peacocks. When it comes to city parks, LAZIENKI is truly a gem. Escape the stress of city life and enjoy serenity at its best here. It has everything virtually to make it to the top of the list of world-class parks. Once a hunting ground, LAZIENKI was acquired by King Stanislaw August Poniatowski in 1764 and transformed over the centuries to include a couple of palaces, an amphitheater, museums and various follies. Hopping from one villa to the next, marveling at the sumptuous LAZIENKI Palace, pottering around 4 museums or just relaxing in the greenery, a whole day could float by here in no time. This palace today is treasure trove of paintings collected by Polish royalty and statues of the country's greatest rulers. Even on crowded days, finding a quiet spot is easy. It is easy to see why locals in Warsaw just can't get enough of this great green space. Maybe the most prestigious of the monuments is for the composer Frédéric Chopin, designed in 1907 in the Art Nouveau style, but delayed by the First World War and erected in 1926. Wandering through the park is indeed a real treat. That's the beauty of LAZIENKI Park. Often in summer, there are free yoga and meditation classes in the park. Number 5, Warsaw Uprising Museum. To gain a better understanding of how Poland gained independence, visit the Warsaw Uprising Museum. Warsaw was famous for withstanding the Nazis during World War II. The Jewish ghetto, where Jews were confined by the Nazis, was the largest in Europe. The uprising, however, was not limited to Jews alone. Indeed, the whole city joined the fight in 1944. No other rebellion in Poland beats this event. Many people lost their lives and lots of properties destroyed. Today, its significance remained etched in the heart of many. The Warsaw Uprising Museum opened in 2004 on the 60th anniversary of the uprising. This museum of the Warsaw Uprising of August to October 1944 is in the converted former tramway power station in the Wola district. This attraction, which sits in a former tram power station in the Wola district, is home to nearly 1,000 exhibits that touch on the country's occupation by Nazi Germany and the post-war years. Featuring video, photographs, and audio exhibitions, this gem takes you back in time to the most traumatic event in Poland. The Museum of the Warsaw Uprising has the motto "We wanted to be free and to owe this freedom to ourselves," and it presents the history of the 1944 uprising, crucial for the development and the end of World War II. It was modeled after the Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C., and uses multimedia design in order to replicate the atmosphere of the uprising. The museum is well detailed. On entering, you can use pre-war telephone receivers to listen to the memories of participants in the uprising. Visitors will find a day-by-day account of the uprising, which began on August 1st and ended on October 2nd. Check out the before and after photos that depict how Warsaw was transformed from rubble to a dynamic capital city in Europe. You can see some of the bunkers used in the uprising, read extracts from newspapers printed at the time, as well as understand the chronology of the battle proceedings. Among many clever installations is the Kino Palladium, a cinema showing the footage collected by the insurgents and screened at the Warsaw Palladium during the uprising. They'll also find an exhibit dedicated to children who participated in the uprising, a replica of the sewers the insurgents used to get around, and an observation tower with great views of Warsaw. The museum also features Freedom Park, where a memorial with the names of more than 10,000 insurgents who died during the Warsaw Uprising is located. The museum is closed on Tuesday. Past visitors said this museum is a must-see for history buffs. Many were impressed with its interactive kid-friendly exhibits, but cautioned that the property can get crowded and hot inside, no matter when you visit. For temporary respite from the attraction's hordes of tourists, consider grabbing a snack at the cafe. Number 4. Wilanow Palace. Warsaw is home to many historic structures, but only few buildings are exactly as they were before World War II, and this museum is one of them. Wilanow Palace is one of the most important monuments in Poland, representing what Poland was like before 18th century. It is well worth a visit as there are plenty of things to see and do here. Wilanow Palace is a rare glimpse of the majesty of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth before Poland was annexed by Prussia and Russia in the late 18th century. This grand palace is unarguably the most famous building in Warsaw, featuring a perfect combination of Baroque and neoclassical styles. History buffs will have a swell time exploring the palace. The palace was built as a home for King John III Sobieski. After his death, the palace was owned by private families, each one changing the way the palace looked. Unlike the rest of Warsaw, the royal palace survived World War II almost unscathed, and most of its furnishings and art were reinstalled after the war. Today, it is a museum that is home to the country's artistic and royal heritage. Take a tour of the grand dining room, the gallery of Polish portraits, and of course, grand entrance hall. Hence, the reason why the palace is filled with unique designs. The exterior is laden with medallions, busts, statues and other Baroque ornamentation, while interior decor abounds with stucco work, striking trompe-l'oeil frescoes and genioiserie. High points are the sumptuous White Hall, traced by mirrors, the King's Library, the King's Bedroom and the North Gallery, flanked by statues and with magnificent ceiling frescoes. And surrounding the museum are manicured gardens filled with rose bushes, lemon trees, tulip bulbs and other colorful plants. The 17th century royal palace hosts several music festivals, including the summer concerts in the garden. Visitors describe the Museum of King Jan III Palace at Wilanow as a pretty palace with beautiful and great art. Many also rave about the property's gardens, though a few say some of the palace's rooms could do with fewer paintings. Nature enthusiasts should consider visiting in spring when the museum's flowers are in bloom. Last entry to the palace is an hour before closing. Number 3. Royal Castle. The Royal Castle in Warsaw is well worth a visit. One of Old Town's most recognizable buildings in the Royal Castle in Warsaw Museum. Warsaw's Royal Castle is situated in the Old Town on the beautiful Castle Square. The castle served as a residence to Polish rulers for many years. The castle dates back to the 14th century when it was the official residence of the Dukes of Masovia. The castle has come through an eventful 700 years involving two demolitions, one by the Swedes in the mid-17th century and another by the Germans in the Second World War. This remarkable copy of the original castle blown up by the Germans in World War II is filled with authentic period furniture and original works of art. It was conquered many times by invaders from afar, but bounced back to be the place where the first constitution in Europe was drafted in 1791. Since the last reconstruction in the 1980s, the castle has been a museum where you can view the apartments of the 16th century King Sigismund II Augustus and visit the House of Parliament, the fountainhead of Polish democracy, and where amendments made to the Polish-Lithuanian constitution ushered an unprecedented religious tolerance. A walk through this 17th century royal residence will leave you with unforgettable travel memories. Here, you'll also find beautiful paintings and artwork steeped in history. The interiors host a collection of portraits of the Polish kings and a collection of 23 18th century paintings of Warsaw, ordered by Poland's last king, S.A. Poniatowski. Even if you don't like history, the intricate designs of the castle are more than enough to intrigue you. The castle's design was the inspiration of many other Warsaw buildings. Guides are available to take you through the length and breadth of the castle. Highlights are the great apartments including the magnificent Great Assembly Hall and the lavishly decorated throne room, King's apartment including the Canaletto room, hung with 22 paintings by Bernardo Bellato, known in Poland as Canaletto, the Lankaronski collection with 2 portraits by Rembrandt. Travelers can also tour the former apartments of Polish royals like King Stanislaus Augustus and Prince Józef Poniatowski. Past visitors described this castle as excellent and surprisingly awesome, adding that its refurbishment is so well done that the structure looks original. Number 2. Polin Museum of the History of Polish Jews. The Museum of the History of Polish Jews, Polin, is a newly opened interactive and vibrant museum that also served as a cultural center, organizing various workshops, debates, lectures, and other temporary events. Open to the public in 2013, the Polin Museum of the History of Polish Jews is a must-see. The Museum of the History of Polish Jews is located on a site that is important to Jews, the Warsaw Ghetto, where they were confined during the Holocaust. Though several Warsaw sites pay homage to Polish Jews who lost their lives during World War II, one of the city's best attractions for learning about the country's Jewish population is the POLIN Museum of the History of Polish Jews. Opening on the 70th anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, the museum honors 1,000 years of Jews in Poland. Before the beginning of World War II, Poland has a population of more than 3 million Jewish descendants. While many Jewish museums across the world only talk about the cruelty the Jews has to endure, Poland celebrates the positive impact of the Jews in Poland. It is designed to educate people about the Jewish faith and culture through exhibits in 8 galleries that explain such things as how the Jews came to Poland. At one time, more Jews lived in Poland than anywhere in the world. Inside, travelers will see collections about Poland's earliest Jews, the Holocaust, and more. The history of the Jews in Poland is told through oral histories of Jews from rabbis to housewives in multimedia narratives. With the aid of an interactive tool, visitors can learn more about the rich history of the Jews, with chronicles from the first settlements to this present day. The multimedia permanent exhibition includes accounts of the earliest Jewish traders in the region, through waves of mass migration, progress and pogroms, all the way to World War II, the destruction of Europe's largest Jewish community, and the present-day situation. You can see a prayer book from 1272 with early sentence written in Yiddish and find out about the golden age of religious tolerance in the 16th and 17th centuries. Later comes the Holocaust, and in gloom are stories about the heroic efforts of the Oinig Shabbos groups to archive the truth about the Warsaw Ghetto. Equally impressive is the fact that visitors are treated to a nice traditional Jewish cuisine. Temporary exhibits that focus on everything from the meaning of blood and Jewish culture to the Jewish community's impact on popular music are occasionally offered as well. According to previous visitors, no trip to Poland would be complete without checking out the POLIN Museum. Many said that this attraction's main exhibit is superb and in-depth, although some felt overwhelmed at times by the amount of information provided. Others appreciated the property's design and layout but wished it didn't take hours to get through. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Number 1. Copernicus Science Center. Looking for something different than checking out artifacts and paintings in a museum or taking a leisure stroll along PRZEDMIESCIE or relaxing in the parks? A visit to the Copernicus Science Center is all that you need. The fully interactive push the buttons and see what happens Copernicus Science Center pulls off that tricky feat of being both hugely fun and educational. Copernicus is one of Poland's leading scientists and mathematicians. After a series of research, Copernicus discovered that the Earth revolves around the Sun, contrary to popular belief that it was the other way around. It is fitting, therefore, that Poland honors him with the Copernicus Science Center, with a planetarium exhibit devoted to space and how it impacts our lives. Expect permanent displays that impress both adults and children, regular events and workshops, and seasonal exhibitions. With more than 450 interactive exhibitions, Copernicus Science Center is the largest science center in Poland. Poland's top science museum opened in 2010 and has more than 400 interactive exhibits across 6 zones, each tackling a different field, from the roots of civilization to the light zone, investigating the nature of light. Named for Polish astronomer Nicolaus Copernicus, the Copernicus Science Center is where budding scientists can learn more about topics like electricity, light, and engineering. The World in Motion, for instance, has an earthquake simulator to try out, as well as a moving model that's showing a human skeleton on a bicycle. At the Humans in the Environment Zone, you can find out about urban ecosystems, construction technology. There are also webcams beaming footage directly from a falcon's nest at the Palace of Culture and Science and the gorilla enclosure at the Warsaw Zoo. The center also has a state-of-the-art planetarium with a 3D sound system, screening shows about the cosmos, but also nature and human cultures. Poland's top science museum also offers hands-on experiments for budding scientists of all ages. In addition to hands-on activities, 20-minute workshops that focus on everything from building a fire without modern equipment to writing hieroglyphs are provided daily. Make sure you attend one of the lectures by a knowledgeable scientist. However, the major drawback of this class is that it's presented in the Polish language. So, if you understand Polish, attending the class is a big plus. Visit the Scientific Research Center to see how experts meddle with the laws of physics. The museum also features a rooftop garden, a theater, a planetarium, and a park with additional interactive exhibits. Families will enjoy visiting this science museum. Various gadgets and experiments throughout the center entertain and educate children of all ages, but the property fills up fast, so visitors recommend arriving early or buying passes in advance on the museum's ticket page. With over 1 million visitors a year, it is also incredibly popular. Advance booking of tickets is highly recommended, or you may find yourself waiting all day for a slot to enter. Also, travelers who want to visit the Buzz Gallery will need to pick up a time ticket when purchasing museum passes. Check the website for exact opening times as they vary throughout the year. If you're not traveling with kids, many reviewers suggest you skip this attraction. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchZilla and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.